Fire Force kicks off its second season with probably arguably the hottest entrance that summer's going to see. You kick off the anime with an almost 10-minute or even longer than that fight of the biggest, most badass inferno I can remember seeing, which was glorious seeing every single character get their moment to shine while also sort of serving as a recap of how they perform in battle and just what their status and rank and things like that is. And then you end the episode with a new calendar shoot that they lose again. This show, I love it, I missed it, I wanted more of it, and they delivered pretty much exactly what I was hoping for and a little bit more, even though the first 5 minutes threw me for a loop as I was thinking to myself, is Fire Force playing it too safe? Why are we going shopping? Like, Season 1 ended on a pretty serious note, so what are you planning? And then they showed me, oh, they had something planned, and it's already a staple of like, oh my god. We just started the summer season, we just started Fire Force, and there's already a fight sequence and just beautiful animation directing and just battle choreography that is already like, try to match this. Fire Force will match it, and there's going to be other shows that will probably have some cool action scenes as well, but still, this is raising the bar and setting the bar quite high for an entrance in summer anime, and I hope Fire Force has a very healthy and long run. No more bad real-world things kind of overlaying with Fire Force. I mean, it had a pretty bad airtime last year when Fire Force Season 1 aired with the whole Kyoto Animation fire, and it was just such an uncomfortable situation having a show with fire. And then Corona came around like, just, Fire Force, have a good run for Season 2. You deserve it. You've proved yourself time and time again. And goddamn, was this a great first episode. I honestly want to kick off with the new calendar shoot. It was only like 5 minutes of the episode, but what a way to end the episode. That had me rolling. Because before all the people kind of rolled around, there was only really like 2 people a part of Company A. So to see just the whole like Cobra Commander bullshit that they tried, and the fact that their solution was double Cobras, this show can be damn funny when it wants to be. Sometimes the comedy doesn't stick its landing, at least for me. The comedy towards the end of the episode had me rolling. You see Giovanni, that has to be the most Photoshop thing I've ever seen, but I love it. I was questioning putting that in the thumbnail, but I was like, no, people who haven't seen Fire Force Season 2 Episode 1 yet needs to discover that image by themselves, because you would either think, what in the actual hell? That was probably one of the best images Fire Force has ever had, because it is so absurd, especially considering the mask stayed on. Of course, the mask is always going to stay on for this boy, absolutely ridiculous. Or just how you have, of course, just Shinra wanting to see, oh, I wonder if there's nude females, and the same female wanting to see him naked but not wanting because then the world would see. There is just so much lustfulness in this show. Sometimes it can be a bit much, but when you're talking about a new calendar shoot, I mean, it kind of feels right at home. This show just energizes me from its insane adrenaline-pumping action to just gut-punching comedy. And it was great to see the females just absolutely laughing at them, like saying, like, this is so stupid, and them being so blinded, like, see, the women love it. We're gonna knock it out of the park this year. And they get dead last again. This show is so good, and I think that was a great way to end the episode, just for the sole reason that, hey, you start the episode off slightly serious, but mostly just kind of slice of life, comfy fun, big action set piece, and then we're trying to make you laugh. Fire Force does have a multitude of layers, and the fact that it has been a hot minute since Season 1, 6 months give or take, something around there, so it's a good way to recap everything that Fire Force is known for while doing it in the best possible way they could. The comedy towards the end was probably some of the best comedy I remember from Fire Force. Obviously, it's been a little while since I've seen Season 1, but it was hilarious. And I mean, that is something firefighters do, or police force, things like that. They do have calendar shoots. So, I mean, it kind of does fit with the theme of what's happening here, despite it being a little more ridiculous than you're probably expecting. The beginning of the episode was probably the weakest part. I would say it was the weakest part. I really liked the moment where Shinra actually reflected on what happened at the end of Season 1, because that was some pretty serious content, and you kick off the episode as if nothing happened, which usually shows like Fire Force do. And on some serious dramatic stuff, the next season comes around, it's like it never happened, or they just magically repaired and they just slapped a band-aid on their wound and called it a day. So it was nice. Obviously, I would have liked it to last maybe a couple minutes longer than just a side remark of Shinra kind of being like, how can we really do this when everything that just happened oh, these people are afraid of bursting into infernos, but it was a nice moment to show you that Shinra isn't a character who just forgets after he's no longer in a serious situation, and that the story, the manga, didn't write it so the events would be forgotten, but rather they do carry forward. Obviously, after that and the remainder of that little first chunk was pretty much just shopping, but honestly, it was pretty funny, I have to say. It was kind of like being presented as all like flirtation, like look at all the potential love interest, but the fact that they were shopping for our boy and what they ended up picking out for him, I'm so glad what the first little chunk of the episode did, because seeing what they ended up buying for him and the fact that he's so oblivious to fashion that he was just like, my ignorant boy, I love you, but man, you're being manipulated here, but I loved it so much. Honestly, it probably could have been an episode of just comedy, and I probably would have still enjoyed it. But Fire Force is known for its action, and they delivered in some of the best I can remember, including all of the fights from Season 1. Not all of them, but it's still up there for being some of the most spectacular. What's interesting about the action in this episode is it actually served as a recap while also being visual eye candy. They went through every single person in terms of their name, their rank, their ability, and like what they typically do in battle, while also serving as just really pleasing for the eye. They showed how, hey, this big ass Infernal, he's a badass, he's going to slap bitches around left and right, and here's all the individual characters and how they work. Some are more for aerial, some are more for grounded and how the teamwork operates. And it was really nice to see because, yes, if you're watching with someone who's never seen Season 1, which it happens a lot, especially when you're watching a show like this on TV, you just turn on, you're like Fire Force, and you're like, oh shit, I want to watch this. So it does serve as like a slight reminder for people who have watched it, like, oh, remember, this is what they do, this is their ability. You're like, of course, it's been 6 months, thank you for that little recap. I don't need to see it in any other episodes, but it's good to remind us of the names, the powers, the ranks, things like that. And if someone caught it on TV, they're going to understand, like, at least the basics of how everything is happening. So it was nice to see that, because rather than it just being like a 2-minute fight that served as a recap, which I thought is what was going to happen, Shinra and the gang would come in, slap them around, then we get into maybe a setup or something like that. But they gave us 10 minutes of eye candy, and I cannot thank them enough. Not only was it just eye candy in terms of just the visuals, the fire animation is still second to none in terms of TV anime. I'll still go as far to say that. The way the flames look, it looks like real fire for their world. It's not stock footage, it's not some like Inferno Cop placing some placeholder campfires and kind of amplifying it or something like that. It is beautifully done, especially considering like we're in a year basically where it's like, please let productions be healthy. And of course, David Production were working on 48 episodes all along, and then they took 6 months off so they could keep the quality up. But still, you just never know what you can expect, especially in this year, which is as hectic as this. So to see something that lasted as long as it did for its first episode, it didn't have to prove anything. The end of Season 1 proved everything we needed to know about Fire Force. They could literally have 3 shitty episodes kicking off Season 2, and the fandom for the most part will probably stick by it just because we really enjoy the characters and story that they built up. But they proved themselves so damn well. To see just the destruction was incredible. I've always complimented the background detail. Ever since Season 1, you can go back to my first review for Season 1, Episode 1. I've always thought there's so much attention put into the smallest of details that it makes the world feel so mechanical / also grounded to reality. It just feels like a world of firefighters and infernals, and there's so much attention put into it, as if you scroll in 200%, you're going to see these little finer details that the naked eye is not going to see, only if you're looking for it in like a Photoshop program or something like that. It's so beautiful. And to see Shinra literally get smacked around and to see the level of destruction, it actually looked like a real world being trampled by a Godzilla-sized beast that is on fire, stepping and literally smacking everything around. And the crumbling effects were really good. And then when you get characters like Arthur coming in, being the knight that he is, and just the contact and the explosions and just like the forces pretty much colliding, it was gorgeous. It was spectacular. I was like, I know this show looks amazing, but I wasn't expecting something like this in Episode 1. I thought an okay fight, maybe a 5-minute fight, not the whole gang, not the whole cavalry coming in and igniting probably one of my favorite fights I can recall in the Fire Force anime. Especially one of my favorites for just a simple disposable fight. If this is a disposable fight, what the hell is Season 2 going to look like and function like when we get into the real story fights? I mean, probably something similar to the end of Season 1, but holy shit is that amazing. It just served as such a great refresher while showing us a fight that doesn't even compare to anything from Season 1. I cannot wait for Season 2. Like, I was excited for Season 2, it's been one of my most anticipated anime, but to see the hilarious comedy, the really intelligent comedy, and how it actually fits for the firefighter theme, despite being completely ridiculous, or just the little shopping trip to buy our boy one of the best outfits I've seen in this anime, to then just the incredible fight, it showed us everything that Fire Force is known for, despite maybe the more serious story content, but, as Shinra mentions towards the beginning of the episode, he hasn't forgotten about that. We know we're gonna get into some crazy story, and seeing how they've kind of structured this episode, I don't think dropping us with some super serious story would have been the smartest move. We want to see that over 2, 3, 4. Those are the episodes you want to get back into the swing of things. It's been a hot minute since we've seen Fire Force, so kick us with the most adrenaline pumping content and hilarious content that you can think of to get us being like, of course, we love Fire Force, let's get back into that story, let's get back into Shinra's brother and just all the little stories that play, the corruption in the Fire Force. This show hit it out of the park. Honestly, the only thing I would have changed about this episode is when Shinra was sitting on that bench discussing how he hasn't forgotten about what happened at the end of Season 1. I would have loved for that thought process to last a solid minute rather than less than 30 seconds. Besides that, this episode definitely proved to me that Fire Force hasn't lost its magic. The fuel is still in the flame here, so that fire is not burning out anytime soon. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below, manga readers, anime originals. What the hell did you think of the return of Fire Force, and how excited are you for episode 2 next week? Do let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button if you have been new around here. So until next time everyone, please take care and have a good one.